You ever wonder why some people just seem to glide through life, getting exactly what they want, while the rest of us, well, we struggle? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty powerful strategic law that might just hold the answer. It's all about the art of concealing your intentions. And yeah, it's built on a truth about people that can be a little uncomfortable.
So, let me ask you something. Are you an open book? Do you say what you feel? Do you share your plans with anyone who asks? I think for most of us, the answer is a big yes. It just feels natural, right? It feels honest.
But here's the thing. According to this law of power we're looking at, being an open book makes you predictable. And when you're predictable, it is almost impossible to command any real respect or fear. And without those two things, well, getting what you want becomes a whole lot harder. Okay, so let's get into the weeds here. The core idea is that people's first instinct, our first instinct, is to trust what we see on the surface. So if you can control what they think you're doing, you basically control them. You get them to chase a decoy, and they will never ever see your real move coming until it's way too late. So, how do you actually do this? Well, the first method is a classic, a real tool of misdirection. It's called the red herring, and this is all about active misdirection. You're not just being quiet about your plans, no. You are dangling a shiny, totally false goal right in front of everyone's face, getting them to chase after it while you move, completely unseen, in the exact opposite direction. So to see how this works, or doesn't, let's look at a case of failure. Meet a young marquis back in 17th century France. He was hopelessly trying to win over this beautiful countess. He was so bad at it, so inept, that the famous courtesan Ninon de L'Enclos actually took pity on him. She took him under her wing and told him, "Look, kid, seduction isn't about honesty. It's war, and every single step has to be planned."
And get this, Ninon's plan, it was working perfectly. First, the Countess was confused by his new attitude. Then she got jealous, and then she got intrigued. She was falling right under his spell, totally enjoying this little game without having a clue where it was leading. But then, the Marquis went off script. On a whim, he just blurts out his love for her. Boom, game over. Instantly, all that charm, all that mystery, it just looked like ugly manipulation to her. The spell was completely, totally broken.
Okay, so that's what not to do. Now let's flip it and look at a total master of this law. We're in 1850s Prussia. A young, ambitious patriot named Otto von Bismarck has this secret, audacious goal. He wants to unite all of Germany by absolutely crushing Austria in a war. This is the guy who would later say that the great questions of the day are decided by iron and blood. And I mean, the difference here is just night and day, right? The Marquis shows his hand and he loses everything. Bismarck, on the other hand, argued passionately for the exact opposite of his real goal. He got up in public and praised Austria, his mortal enemy. This confused everybody, but it won him the trust of his peace-loving king, who then gave him the very power he needed to build up an army and eventually achieve his real, hidden intention, an absolute masterclass in using a red herring. All right, our next tactic builds on this idea, but it's way more subtle. It's called the smoke screen. And instead of some big, exciting decoy, you hide what you're doing behind something, well, kind of bland, something familiar, something that just lulls your target into a totally false sense of security.
For this one, let me introduce you to someone. This is Joseph Yellow Kid Whale, one of the most creative con artists in history. Back in 1910, he set his sights on a retired millionaire named Sam Giesel. Now, Weil knew a direct pitch for some crazy bet would never work, so he had to hide his real plan behind something Giesel would find completely normal.
And this just brilliantly shows the smokescreen in action. See the hunting lodge deal? That was the familiar, boring front. Giesel was so focused on that plausible, easy money that he never even questioned the weird little details of the spontaneous boxing bet, like why the boxer was so out of shape. The business deal was the smoke. And behind that smoke, Weil was setting the real trap. By the time the fake death created a total crisis, Giesel was so panicked about being charged with murder that he ran, completely forgetting about the $35,000 he'd put up. But the smokescreen, it isn't just for con artists. Fast forward to the 1920s. A young noble named Haile Selassie is trying to consolidate his power in Ethiopia. But he has a problem, a powerful, arrogant warlord named Balcha, who openly defies him.
So picture this. Balcha marches his huge army, 10,000 men, to just within 3 miles of the capital city. Now, Balcha was a paranoid and very experienced warrior. So when Selassie invites him to a friendly banquet, Balcha is sure he knows the game. This is the oldest trick in the book, an ambush.
So he agrees to go, but he's no fool, or so he thinks. He brings 600 of his best armed guards with him. And at the feast, Selassie is just charming. He's deferential. He treats Balcha like the superior warrior. He lets Balcha feel completely in control. You see, the trap wasn't the feast itself. The feast was the trap.
Because while Balcha was inside, getting his ego stroked, feeling all-powerful at the palace, Selassie's own forces were sneaking up on Balcha's camp. But they didn't bring swords. They brought baskets of gold and cash. They simply bought the loyalty and the weapons of every single one of Balcha's 10,000 soldiers. By the time Balcha got back to his camp, his army was gone. Checkmate. Not a single shot was fired.
So why does this stuff work so consistently? I mean, it seems so elaborate. It's because these strategies, they don't just rely on being clever. They're actually hacking fundamental weaknesses in our own psychology.
The simple truth is, our brains are kind of wired for trust. I mean, constantly doubting everything around you would be exhausting, right? So we take mental shortcuts. We trust what we see on the surface. We focus on one thing at a time. And these tactics exploit that very instinct. They use a sincere gesture or a familiar-looking deal to make us totally blind to what's really happening just out of sight.
But, like any good rule, there are exceptions. There are times when concealing your intentions is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do.
I mean, what happens when you already have that reputation? When everyone knows you play games? Trying to act all innocent or hide your intentions then just makes you look like a hypocrite, right? Your cover's already blown. So, what do? You embrace it. Take P.T. Barnum. The guy built his entire career on deception, but as he got older, instead of trying to deny it, he leaned into it. He started openly calling his shows humbuggery. He even published a tell-all book revealing all his tricks. And the public? They ate it up. They loved being in on the secret. He became this repentant rogue, and it let him keep playing his games, just right out in the open.
It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? It all comes back to this really interesting quote from the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard. The world wants to be deceived. It suggests that, on some level, maybe we enjoy it. We like surrendering to a good story, even if we suspect it's not totally real.
And really, that brings us to the central question here. To conceal your intentions is to be unpredictable. And yeah, that can absolutely keep your rivals off balance. It can grant you the element of surprise. But where's the line? When does a clever strategy just turn into a reputation for being untrustworthy, which could actually limit your power in the long run? That's definitely something to think about.